Ladies and gentlemen, we need to talk about some huge changes here coming soon to the hockey prospect world that will change things forever. Over the years, we've seen countless players developed and brought into the NHL level, but there was always one huge problem, and that was a lack of player choice. But over the last couple months, we've heard a lot of rumors about big changes coming to the hockey prospect landscape that will give these players so much more opportunities than they had before. So what are these opportunities, these big changes I'm talking about today? Well, make sure you guys watch till the end because we're going to be breaking down every little piece of this story and why it'll affect your favorite NHL prospects. And of course, hit that subscribe button for more hockey prospect content just like this all throughout the year, presented by BetUS. If you've been in the hockey prospect world for any length of time, you've probably heard of the dreaded NHL CHL Agreement. It stipulates that an NHL club must return any CHL player drafted and signed to an NHL entry-level contract to a CHL club if the NHL club does not retain that player on its active roster at the start of the season. This agreement applies solely to CHL players aged 18 and 19 years old. So basically this meant if you weren't at an NHL level at 18 or 19 years old and your NHL team wants to send you down, they have to send you down to the CHL. No AHL, no other league could be a possibility besides the Canadian Hockey League. A high-profile player that this affected just this last year was Matthew Savoie, who was a former 9th overall pick by the Sabres in the 2022 NHL draft, but he was entering his 20-year-old season after having a dominant WHL season, getting 95 points in 62 games. He was somebody that I think would have been perfect for the AHL, but because of this agreement, had to be sent down to the CHL again, where he wasn't going to learn anything more. There was almost nothing for Savoie to gain going back to the WHL again. He had already proven so much, already done so much, already scored so much, yet he was being forced to play another season strictly because he was from Canada in the CHL and wasn't ready for the NHL yet. You compare the same situation to the third first-round pick by the Sabres in that 2022 draft in Jiri Kulich, a completely different situation. Because Kulich wasn't playing in the CHL before and was playing in Czechia, the Sabres were able to sign him to an entry-level contract, and even though he wasn't NHL ready yet, they were able to immediately put him in the AHL right after drafting him. And that has proven to be incredible for his development. Already adjusting to the AHL level immediately, he got 46 points, 24 goals in his first AHL season, and since then has improved and got his first NHL goal this year. You compare that to Matthew Savoie's situation where the Sabres had to go through this weird loophole to even play him in the AHL last year, but now he's finally going to have a full pro season in the AHL this season after getting traded to Edmonton and not being able to prove himself at the pro level yet. But you really start to see how rough this situation is because you have two prospects from the same age group, same draft, same round in the draft in Savoie and Kulich. But because of one player being in the CHL, the other player got a demonstrably better developmental situation. And we're already seeing that pan out. In Savoie's case, because he was Canadian, because he played in the CHL, it hurt his development. And the fact that you have to be strung to this one league created a lot of problems for a lot of prospects who are on that fringe level. I have seen it myself affect countless different prospects that they were good enough to be at the AHL, to really get their feet going at the pro level, but had to play another season in the CHL, and it took either a lot longer to get to the NHL level, or it just didn't end up happening for them. That 1 year in development can be so crucial to a player, especially a young prospect who are fighting against hundreds of other prospects in this league, and the fact that they have to get stifled in their development is a massive problem. And because of this agreement, we have seen countless top Canadian prospects going to the NCAA and being able to choose how long they stay, where they go, the education they get, the level they want to play at, and practically everything. This has led countless players to go over to the US instead, like Owen Power, Adam Fantilli, Macklin, Celebrini. Countless different top-end prospects over the last few years have chose the NCAA because of this agreement. If I was a player in the same position as a Celebrini, as a Power, it would be no competition. The NCAA would be my choice. Not only do you get the lifestyle that you get in college, but you also get the development, you get the education, and you also get still play against top-end competition. You see in Celebrini's case, he was able to go to the USHL and play good minutes with the Chicago Steel, looking great there, and then easily transition on the NCAA level. And these aren't joke leagues whatsoever, especially Hockey East for Boston University. You're playing against tough, older competition. A lot of times, players that are 23, 24 24, 25 years old, and it's definitely a test before going to the pro level. And in Celebrini's case, he's made the right choice. But this is the big kicker here for the Canadian Hockey League. The main reason this rule was put into place in the first place was so these 20-year-olds that are absolutely dominant can go back to their CHL teams because they have to, and hopefully that'll drive up ticket sales, that'll drive up revenue because these dominant players are still staying in the CHL. But it had the reverse effect because the CHL was strangling these players, keeping them in the CHL as long as possible. That made it to where a lot of these younger guys know the risks and are looking at other options. And a lot of the top options here are the NCAA. And continually, prospects are choosing American college hockey instead of Canadian hockey. You still have exceptions in this latest draft. You have great players in the CHL like Michael Misa and Porter Martone, but it was becoming something that the CHL just could not ignore. But the prospect world was reaching a boiling point, and recently we saw WHLer Braxton Whitehead committing to Arizona State University, and recently we've seen a lot of news leading to a big change coming to the NCAA and CHL rules. The NCAA was also dealing with its own weird player situations because they were going through a similar situation. In their case, if you were committed to an NCAA team and you were to play one game in the WHL on even an emergency basis, you would automatically be disqualified from ever playing in the NCAA again. Even if it was one game and you just had to go in there to save the team, you were in the stands or something, you were a fan and you came in as an emergency goaltender, you're automatically done. But we are now seeing changes to that system as well. In this recent article by Bleacher Report, they say this week a proposal to change NCAA eligibility rules was introduced by the council and it will be voted on in November. Per the NCAA, the proposal would enable prospects who participate in major junior ice hockey or on professional teams to retain NCAA eligibility as long as they are not paid more than actual and necessary expenses as part of that participation. As they go on to say, if the proposal is approved, and it is expected to be, it will go into effect on August 1st, 2025. This will mark a major change in the development landscape for NHL prospects. And now with the changes to the NCAA rules, that has almost forced the hand to the CHL. And we recently got this tweet from Ryan Kennedy breaking big news here talking about it. And he says, heard from a source that next CBA could feature AHL eligibility for 19-year-olds. Lots of change swirling around prospect world, but this would be great for the Matthew Savoy types of talents. So in the span of just really a few months now, we have gotten a WHLer committing to the NCAA, this huge lawsuit situation, and the NCAA having to make changes here. And we are now seeing this wave of potential for all players of all types. I think this news is so good because it's actually good for everybody, in my opinion. It just gives so many players the opportunities to do whatever they need to do. If they're in a situation where they want to transition out of the NCAA after they're done with the CHL, they would have the opportunity to do so. Once they're 20 years old, they don't have to go to U Sports or try to find something in Europe. They'll have the opportunity to go to America and play in the NCAA with tons of teams, tons of opportunities, and simply it'll make these leagues better. And now with the potential changes to the CBA, we now have players that could be in the CHL and could be able to be put in the AHL almost immediately. We'll have to wait and see what the details end up being, but if 19-year-old, 20-year-olds are actually allowed to go to the AHL and play there, to me, I think it will actually be better for the CHL because I think more players will choose to play there because they'll be given the opportunities to actually leave. It's almost like when players aren't completely strangled, they might be a lot more willing to play for you, especially for these Canadian kids. I'm sure a lot of them want to stay in Canada. They want to stay around their hometowns. They want to stay around their families. If they were given the choice and given more opportunities to play where they want to play, I'm sure they'd be all for it. But I think especially this AHL eligibility part will change a lot for the top end prospects. I think for a few of these guys that went to the NCAA instead, this might be a big deal breaker. There could be some situations there where players prefer NIL or they just prefer the education experience and the situation there in college. But I feel like there'd be a couple players here and there that, given this opportunity, given the chance to actually leave, will be more willing to be in the CHL long term. And I think that is kind of a situation that the CHL wasn't really trying to think about before now. My issue, and it's something that always gets discussed when the NHL and CHL agreement gets brought up, is that, oh, these teams in the CHL will never survive if this 20-year-old first rounder doesn't stay for another year. And my issue with that is that it puts so much more pressure on the players than these guys deserve. I mean, they're young kids. They're 20 years old. They shouldn't have to put up the friggin' weight of a franchise because they need to stay one more season when they would be better developmentally in the AHL. If I was an actual competent CHL franchise, I'd want my guys to be as successful as possible. If you think you're going to be more successful in the AHL, then go ahead, be a future NHL stud and give us better attention because you're an alumni of the team. It just makes no sense to me to stifle these guys' development because you want to boost ticket sales by 10%. If you want to do that, then do better within your hockey operations department. Do better at marketing. Do better at getting butts in seats. I know it's obviously a lot easier said than done, but you're still able to get these type of prospects. And I think even with these players going to the AHL, I think that'll bring more talent still to the CHL. They give these players the opportunities and don't stifle their development in the end. But personally, I am pro player in every possible situation, and this was a situation that I was just so sad to see because I feel for a lot of these Canadian kids that would want to play in the CHL otherwise, but would go to the NCAA because of rules like this, keeping them from making decisions with their own careers. And I think this is just going to be best for the players and the opportunities because it'll give players that are out of the CHL especially so much more opportunity. And that is, to me, the big win out of this whole situation. It gives the 20-year-olds who are good in the WHL but aren't going to be NHLers long term the opportunity to go to the NCAA, get a great education, play against great competition, and still keep their hockey careers going. And hey, who knows, maybe getting a signing after that. A lot of NCAA free agents, once they're done with the NCAA, get opportunities elsewhere, especially within NHL teams. And I think this is just going to boost those players, those guys on the fringes, whether it be in the CHL or the NCAA. It'll give them more opportunity. It'll just increase the player pool. It'll make everything better, at least for me personally. I know it might be bad for a couple owners who lose a little bit of revenue, but I don't care. It'll affect thousands of players in the future, and to me, that is worth it. Now, before we leave today, I first want to talk about today's sponsor in BetUS. If you guys aren't familiar with them already, BetUS is the place to be for this hockey season. All you got to do is use code YouTube150 when you sign up, and you'll get an 150% sign-up bonus on your first deposit and 125% sign-up bonus on your next deposits after that. But you can make picks on different NHL games every day. You can also go for the divisional odds for each division, the regular season awards right now. Right now, Red Matthew Michkov is still leading with 240 in the plus odds with the Calder Trophy. We'll see how that ends up working out. But you can also go through every team in their regular season. Point totals too, still up right now, and they're constantly changing as well. And you can also go for the Stanley Cup chances too. A lot of interesting ones here. Edmonton with their slow start is still the leader at plus 850, but we'll see if that ends up changing in the future. But of course, with BetUS, you also have 24/7 customer service, 24/7 payouts, and it is the place to be for this hockey season. And thank you to BetUS for sponsoring today's video. But that will be it for today, guys, and I hope you guys did enjoy today's video and today's breakdown because it was news that I wanted to talk about. It might not be the most glamorous thing in the world. It's not going to get as many views as like a 32 teams video or something, but it's something that I wanted to talk about because it's important to me. I want to see these players get the best out of their hockey careers, and it's something that I wanted to see get more attention out there. So hopefully you guys did enjoy the breakdown there. If you did, make sure that like button, hit that subscribe and hit the notification bell, and comment down below your thoughts on this. Do you think it's a right move? Do you think it's something that will affect teams in the future? Are you for the changes in this agreement? I would love to know your thoughts down below on that. And of course, make sure you share the video with all the hockey fans you guys know online because it will change a lot for these prospects going forward, and it'll change quite a bit, I think, for the better. But of course, thank you guys so much for watching. And of course, if you want to watch something else, you guys can go on this playlist for all my hockey prospects talk right in one playlist right there for you to binge. And I will see you guys in the next one. I hope you have a fantastic hockey day, and goodbye.